Hello, Nettie Owens here with Sapari Solutions, and today I get the pleasure to welcome Dr. AJ back to the show, What Business Owners Need to Know Right Now. We're going to continue our conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion and belongingness today. And last time we really were like just getting warmed up, and it was time to go. So I would highly, highly encourage you to go back and find that past interview. I'll do my best to try and link it below so that you can access that. But if not, the YouTube playlist is there. Scroll through, find it, watch it, and we're going to start. We're going to just kind of pick up and continue our conversation. Welcome. I want to give everybody a chance to kind of get to know you, especially if they haven't watched the past interviews. So Dr. AJ is a social personality psychologist and certified professional executive coach. She's also a published author, podcaster, and traumatic brain injury survivor turned mental well-being advocate. So, and then it dovetails into the work that you're doing now. So tell us a little bit about that work. Just kind of bring us up to speed.
Absolutely. So the way I approach all of my work really is two sides of the same coin. When you talk about leadership development or executive development, you want to make sure that diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness are a part of that leadership development to make sure you have inclusive leadership. And on the flip end of it, from the company side, you also want to make sure that you are developing diverse leaders. Mm-hmm. So I like to say that I approach equity, inclusion, and belongingness through talent development.
Perfect. And I love that perspective because then it's sort of full circle, right? Yeah. It's not just top down, but you're really meeting people as they come in and starting right from the beginning.
Yes.
So let's just jump in here. What is the one thing? I mean, that's really this whole series is centered around it. But what is the one thing that businesses and business owners need to do right now, even though we're going through a pandemic? And in the United States, having a lot of conversations around equity, inclusiveness, belongingness, diversity, and police brutality. It's all kind of getting wrapped up together.
Yeah. I'm going to, that's a really loaded question, and I'm going to simplify it as much as I can by starting off with the one thing that businesses and business owners absolutely should not do right now. Okay. And that is ignoring diversity, equity, and inclusion by saying, oh, well, we just don't have the budget for it. Mm-hmm. This is, and I understand the pandemic has hit everybody so in such brutal ways, with our unemployment rates across the board. There's no doubt that we took a huge economic hit. That being said, it's critical if you want your business to be sustainable right now that you kind of go back to the basics, and the basics are inclusion and belongingness. Mm-hmm. So if you want your business to sustain, if you want to make a name for yourself as somebody that takes care of their people and, ultimately reaps the profits of that, now is not a good time for you to step away from diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now is actually a great time for you to take a look at your entire infrastructure, your entire business development, your strategic goals, all of it, and make sure that diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness are a part of every layer of your business.
So you said don't have the budget for it. So do businesses, or do you feel like being diverse is an expensive option to pursue, or where would a business need to put budgeted money into this effort?
I would say I don't think in the long run, I don't think diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness initiatives are expensive to pursue at all. Once you have the systems set up, I think over long term, the cost of it actually comes down.
Okay.
That being said, we also know, many companies, and this is the truth of, when we look at like bonus structures and, incentives and things like that, there's money being spent on all of these other external things right now in the name of diversity and inclusion, but they're not actually leading to diversity and inclusion.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more? I'm curious.
Yeah. For instance, and these are some big names out there, but just using them as case studies and examples, does, a CEO need like a $15 million salary with like a 30% bonus right now when they've just laid off 50% of their workforce?
Okay.
You know?
So I guess what I'm hearing you say is perhaps just restructuring the budget,
Yeah, exactly.
To be able to afford or to support, some of these other efforts. And what would, we talked a little bit about this the last time, but what does it take to set up a brand that is diverse, inclusive, equitable, and has this, fosters a sense of belonging? What do we need to do to set that up?
I would say the first step is to really look at the values and purpose of the business and make sure that the values and purpose of the business are being communicated inclusively.
Okay.
They're being communicated in a way where they're not necessarily with the language they use or the visuals or the marketing or, any of that sort of stuff, that their story includes them, but it also creates the space to include their employees and to include their, customers and consumers. And really, again, I said it a little bit ago, but really looking at every aspect of your business and saying, how do we need to reframe this in order to be more inclusive, in order to stand for equity, in order to walk this walk that is critical right now.
Right. And it's not just, I just want to be clear, race is at the forefront right now, but it's not just race. It's race, it's gender, it's sexual orientation, it's abilities, differing abilities and strengths. All of these things, lend to. So even though right now there's a large conversation around race, you want to be thinking about being diverse and inclusive, across the board, not just in one aspect.
Absolutely. That I 100% agree with you. Everything you mentioned and other factors that you haven't either, they create intersectionalities. They create the reality that all of these problems in our society and therefore any sustainable solutions have to be interconnected. So you can't just look at any one aspect of it because then you're just putting yourself in a silo culture.
Mm-hmm. So I really want to give you an opportunity to talk about what you've got coming up next. Really like a minute to talk about this. But it's important, and I think for those that want to continue this conversation and want to hear more and want to do more, your summit is going to be a great place to do that. Can you tell us all a little bit about it?
Absolutely. So on August 26th through the 28th, I've created a platform of 50 plus speakers across 9 tracks: corporate, educational equity, economic equity, environmental, health and wellness, data, tech, metrics, and more. Consisting of the majority of BIPOC and LGBTQIA plus or people with visible and invisible disabilities, all experts coming from these marginalized communities to educate us on their unique lived experiences and the insights they've gained through us so that we can understand exactly like I said, the problems are interconnected, so the solutions have to be as well. So I really hope that your listeners can, walk the walk with me and join me on this summit. It's going to be powerful, 40 plus hours of content that you can take back.
Well, I'm excited about it. I think it's a great opportunity. Thank you so much for spearheading it, for being able to take the next step and create this conversation. The link is below, c3eb.com, and I hope you'll check it out. Thank you for being here again.